Hey there, Nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Chiefscape, and welcome to the episode of Way of the Underhive. This series is dedicated to helping brand new players to Necromunda build their starting rosters and learn more about the game mechanics of their favorite gangs. And on this episode, we will discuss playing a Promethium Guild Gang for our narrative campaign, Necromunda Monopoly. We'll discuss what a narrative gang is, the reasons for playing a narrative gang, and provide a 2,400 credit starter roster for your first narrative campaign. And as always, there will be timestamps in the description box down below, so that way you can click and navigate to the part of the video that interests you the most. So, what is Necromunda Monopoly? Necromunda Monopoly is actually a home-brewed campaign idea that I created where basically a new section of the Underhive has been discovered, so every single one of the merchant guilds are now storming that new territory and try to monopolize all the new markets as well as economic factors and resources that are available, so that way they can exploit it for wealth, power, and prestige. And if you want to know more about the rules about that campaign study, I actually made a video about it. You can actually see in the description box down below, I got a link there. You can check out the actual campaign rules if you're interested. I also have those campaign rules up on my blogger.com site as well if you want to take a look at that. Now, the idea is supposed to be that because the merchant guilds are going down there to control it, we have gangs for each of the different merchant guilds that are available from the Book of Peril. Now, normally you can only play about 5 of these different guilds using the Outcast gang rules. However, but I decided to actually make all 8 gangs available from all 8 guilds. I've also included rules for the Iron Guild, as well as for the Electro Guild, as well as for the Air Guild as well. Now, I do have those and they're available for you to look at. I also got those videos in my playlist as well. Now, we will be using narrative builds to build this list, which means that we won't be following the traditional gang building rules to make rosters. And the reason why is because it's more of a narrative flavor, so I picked different fighters like Dramatis Personae and stuff to be champions and things, and also made some interesting equipment choices, so that way it kind of fits the overall narrative of what this campaign would be about. And we are using Aranthi's Accession list building rules, which means you have 2,400 credits to build your gang. You can also double the number of champions that you have as well. 2,000 to build your fighters, with 400 credits for mounted as well as for vehicles in your gang. And just like always, this is in no way, shape, or form official. This is totally unofficial in every way possible, including this gang list as well as my campaign. So if you are trying to actually do something official like a GW tournament or an official Necromunda tournament, don't use this list because it's totally unofficial. But if you're looking for a really fun way to do a new campaign of Necromunda with some interesting gangs, well, this will be the one for you. So why play the Promethium Guild? Because give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire, as the good old boys from Metallica would say, because you want to set things on fire and make things burn, and at the same time dominate in your games of Necromunda as well. Plus the idea that you can also turn the lights off in scenarios is also kind of an attractive ability to have, so that way your enemies are fighting in pitch black conditions. And at the same time, you love the smell of napalm in the morning because it smells like victory. So now that we've done talking about why you want to play the Promethium Guild, let's talk about exactly what narrative list building entails and what that's all about. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about what is a narrative roster. A narrative roster is an idea I've been cooking up for a while, where it's basically a new way of playing. Necromunda is a wonderful game with all kinds of interesting stuff, with Dramatis Personae and special characters and skills, weapons, equipment, and all kinds of different things that makes this game such a fantastic skirmish game to play. The campaign setting is literally limitless, and the different opportunities that you can have to play. So my idea was, what if you took some of those narrative aspects of the Necromunda lore and applied them to list building for our gangs? Now, in a narrative list, you'll be using Dramatis Personae as leaders as well as champions in your gangs, so long as it kind of fits with the overall narrative of what your gang is. Same thing with having access to certain skills, weapons, and war gear that may not normally be allowed in your gang as well, and the reason why we're doing that to add to that narrative flavor. This also applies to brutes, hangers, as well as higher guns, which are not normally allowed in a starting roster. So that's what the idea of this whole narrative roster is. We're taking the narrative elements of the Necromunda setting with a specific gang and applying it to that starting roster. Now, the whole reason why you might want to play a narrative gang is because it's a fun new way to spice up playing Necromunda. It could also be the basis of a brand new narrative campaign. A narrative campaign is this idea I've been cooking up in my head about actually having a campaign setting where there's an actual storyline for each of the different gangs. The gangs are out to seek certain kind of objectives in this campaign setting, and that's pretty much how it would work in that campaign setting. The gangs that achieve their objectives, narratively speaking, are the ones that end up winning the campaign. And the idea was a nice little way to explore some of the lore and the endless fluff that is usually associated with Necromunda. Like I said before, Necromunda has a very rich and in-depth campaign setting with different characters, houses, guilds, criminal organizations, different levels and different factions all vying for control of this crazy planet. So I thought it would be a nice, really a cool idea in order to create those kind of campaigns around those little pieces of lore and have games to reflect that and to do this. The idea of a narrative campaign as well as a narrative roster is that you kind of focus more on fluff and lore rather than competitive play, and I'm going to try to design the lists around that so that way your starting roster does reflect that for the specific game that you're playing. And obviously, the biggest question should be asked, why should you play in every game? And my only answer is with another question, why not? There's a lot of cool things you can do in Necromunda and a lot of cool topics you can explore as well. This is a good way for beginners to learn how to play a game as well, and it could also be great for experienced players too, just in case you're looking for some new and interesting way to do this. Not only that, it could also be fun being an arbitrator of a narrative campaign because you got to create a narrative story, give different objectives for your gangs to try to accomplish, and earn points that way. It's also really fun for players to kind of build in backstory of why their gang is operating the way it is and how it's supposed to operate in the campaign setting, and it's a really cool idea as well. And I suggest giving it a try. I mean, why not? You could always see something new with this game system, and that's the wonderful thing about Necromunda. There's always new and cool ways of actually playing this game as well. I will give you a warning, however, no way in shape and form should you be using a narrative list like this if your arbitrator doesn't allow it for your campaign, just because I'm not following some of the official rules for the gang rule building rules that come with the game. And at the same time, these are also not really good for tournament play, but just keep that in mind as we go forward. So now that we're going to talk about exactly what narrative list building is all about, let's talk about Mercator, Pyros, Pyromantic, Conclave, which is the gang you'll be playing in this campaign. And just like with all my other builds that I've done, this specific gang also has some very unique special rules attached to it. So let's go and talk about what they can do in your campaigns. So the first major special rule, of course, is the Promethium Guild equipment list. The gang will have access to House Caldor Redemptionist equipment lists for both their fighters as well as vehicles, the only exception of which, of course, are exotic beasts. And the reason why we did this because obviously it's a good connection to use the Promethium Guild as well as Redemptionists in order to create your list. Redemptionists are all about setting things on fire and burning things to ash, and the Promethium Guild is exactly the same thing. So it's a beautiful marriage of different types of equipment and vehicle options for your gang. Now this gang also has some very specific perks that's associated with it as well. One of them is Lord Helmwar's Radiance. Now this rule is actually available in the Book of the Peril for your alliance with the Promethium Guild, but I modify it slightly so that way it fit for this gang specifically in your campaigns. And the rule basically reads, any plasma or flame weapons, i.e. plasma weapons, plasma pistols, plasma guns, plasma cannon, or any combo weapon with a plasma component, or any weapon with a blaze trait owned by the gang lose the scarce trait, or if they did not have the scarce trait, they gain the plentiful trait instead. Which makes sense because since these guys are basically running around setting things on fire and have access to fuel and cells to do this, it only makes sense to make sure that these guys also be able to use it for your gang as well. So if you like playing with plasma, if you like playing with blaze weapons, then this is the gang for you, and this special rule is designed for that gang. And of course, we also have the Light and Dark Places special rule attached to these guys as well. Once again, this is usually a benefit you get from making an alliance with the Promethium Guild, but I modified it a little bit so that way this gang could use it in their campaign. And this is what the rule states. It says, if the player controlling the Pyromantic Conclave chooses, they may announce during the pre-battle sequence, after crews have been chosen, but before deployment, that the battle will be fought using pitch black rules. Additionally, they may choose during any end phase that these rules will no longer apply. Finally, if any member of the Pyromantic Conclave is removed from play immediately before removing the fighter, resolve a photon flash grenade attack centered on the fighter. So that basically makes up the rule for these guys. It makes sense because they will normally control access to all the fuel that goes through the Underhive as well. Not so much on the ash waste too much, even though we do have a couple of scenarios that do take place in the ash waste, but for the most part though, this is a really handy ability to have, especially if your enemy doesn't have any photo goggles or infrasights to help them out, so that way you can really mess your enemies' visibility conditions. So now that we're done talking about the special rule for this gang, let's go and talk about the Promethium Guild starting roster for Necromunda Monopoly, rated at 2,400 credits. And of course, this is the Mercator, Pyros, Pyromantic Conclave. Ooh, try to say that 3 times fast. And so let's go and talk about exactly what consists of this gang and what your fighters look like. Up first is your Pyrocane Lord, who's going to cost you 275 credits. This guy's going to be an outcast leader. He's also got the weird archetype as well. And the reason why we decided to go with the weird archetype is so that way you have access to the pyromancy discipline. It just kind of overall fits narratively what this guy could actually do. Now he has mesh armor, so we give him 5 up armor save. He's also going to have incombustible halberd as well, so that way he increases armor save by 1. Also has a ward save against blaze attacks, which would be really nice as well. He automatically comes with the last pistol, as was a shock save for his normal weapon, so he's got really good close combat attacks. That shock save got an additional versatile skill trait that makes him quite attractive to do in close combat, and he's also packing Refractor Field, which means he's got a 5 award save as well. Now we're giving this guy photo goggles so that we can see in all visibility conditions, because after all, if you do turn off the lights, you want to be able to see what you're doing, so having photo goggles will help that. And we gave this guy an Ash Waste Cutter from the last book from the Aranthe Secession book. That's usually reserved only for Vansar gangs, but the reason why we gave him the Ash Waste Cutter is because, according to the narrative, the Pyromantic Lord kind of floats around like on a burning disc that shoots jet flame beneath him, and he kind of rocket around everywhere. So to create that same look or that same feel for the character, we gave them Ash Waste Cutter with all the special rules applying to it, so that way you could actually imagine this guy kind of floating around and just, calling the shots for the most part. Now he automatically comes with the Evade special skill, which makes him a little bit harder to hit from long range. And he automatically comes with the Overseer ability as well, but because he can be a weird archetype, we're giving the Pyromantic discipline, and the reason why is because obviously Fire, Pyromantic Lord, why not use that together? He's got the Fire Shield ability as well, which makes a little bit less chance of actually him catching on fighter, and we're giving the Flame Blast ability so that way he's got that beautiful template attack to kind of match the overall aesthetic of what the Pyromantic Lord can do. So up next are your champions. Your very first champion is going to be your Pyro Major. It's going to cost you 290 credits. We're giving this guy an Outcast champion. We're giving him the Gunslinger archetype for this character. He's going to have mesh armor for 5-up armor save, as well as an incombustible hollow perk to make him a little bit more resilient against flaming attacks. He's also automatically packing a flamer, and we're giving him a stun gun as a backup weapon just in case he runs ammunition for his flamer, or if he engages in close combat. You're going to automatically comes with the Refractor Field to give him a 5-up ward save, which is going to be nice as well. He's got a cult icon for larger group activations, as well as photo goggles, that way you can see what he's doing as well. At the same time, we're giving him the hip shooting ability from the Gunslinger archetype, because that way he can do 2 movements and then open fire with his weapon. Now traditionally when you do that, you lose 1 point in your ballista skill by doing hip shooting, but because he's using a template weapon, it doesn't really matter. And at the same time, he automatically comes with Nerves of Steel, which means he can escape pinning if he passes a cool test, and trust me, he's going to need it because your opponent's going to be shooting at him quite a bit to stop him from setting your people on fire. My suggestion to you when you guys level this guy up, get the fast shot ability so that we can fire that flamer twice. Makes it even deadlier. Now at the same time, we also have Outcast Champion number 1. It's going to cost you 270 credits. This character's got the Survivor archetype as well as a hazard suit, so that way he's immune to the blaze condition. We're going to give him a Gutter Forge Cloak as well to give him 1 additional armor save, so he's going to have a 5-up armor save with a 5-up ward save against environmental effects. He's also going to be packing a Redemptionist Fire Pike, because a strength 4 template weapon like that is always a good thing, as well as an auto pistol for a backup weapon or in case he gets engaged in close combat. We're giving him photo goggles so that we can see in all visibility conditions, and once again, this guy's also got the Nerves of Steel skill, because your opponent's going to be shooting at this guy to stop him from setting your fighters on fire. After that, we have 2 more Outcast Champions. Outcast Champion number 2 is going to cost 210 credits. This fighter's got the Mastermind archetype. He's also got a hazard suit, so that way he's got immunity to blaze. He's also got a Gutter Forge Cloak as well, so that way he's got a 5-up armor save in combination with his hazard suit, and a 5-up ward save for environmental effects. He's packing a grenade launcher with frag as well as crack grenades, because those things are the pwn, and at the same time photon flash grenades, so that we can lob those at your enemies as well, so that way if your opponents don't pass initiative tests, they lose their ready marker. He's going to have an auto pistol for a backup weapon as well as an axe, which we're going to transfer that to free from him, because we're going to replace those axes from the cinders in your gang and give it to this champion instead. We're giving him photo goggles so he can see in all visibility conditions, as well as the Overwatch skill, so that way he can interrupt enemy activations with a photon flash grenade or frag grenade or crack grenade, depending what you want. After all, spices, variety is the spice of life, so just lob mixed fruit at your opponents. After that, we have Outcast Champion number 2 is going to cost you 220 credits. This character's going to be a brawler archetype, so that way he's got access to brawn. He's got the hazard suit as well as a Gutter Forge Cloak for that 5-up armor save and 5-up ward save against all environmental effects. He's also going to be packing an Eviscerator, which is a chainsaw blade with a flamer attached to it, which is strength 3, because that just is the pwn, and that thing just kind of also matches up with the overall aesthetic of a Pyromantic Conclave. He's also packing an auto pistol, so that way using that skill with bulging biceps, he can use both these weapons in close combat. He's got photo goggles to see in all visibility conditions and the bulging biceps skill, so that way he loses the unwieldy trait for the Eviscerator. That way he can use 2 close combat weapons if he wants to, and that just makes him even more dangerous. Now this gang's going to have 3 cinders. Cinders number 1, 2, and 3. All 3 will cost exactly the same amount at 150 credits apiece, and all 3 will be equipped exactly the same. We're giving them hazard suits as well as Gutter Forge Cloaks for that 5-up armor save and that 5-up ward save. They automatically are packing blast pistols, which are great reliable short-range shooting attacks, and we're giving these guys chain axes with exterminators. So that way the chain axe by itself is already a deadly close combat weapon, but that exterminator gives you a 1-shot flaming attack with a flaming template attack with strength 3, which is going to be great to set opponents on fire. fire. These guys are also packing photon flash grenades, so that way they can remove enemy activations. They have photo goggles, so that way they can see in all visibility conditions and also protect themselves from their own photon flash grenades in case they come bouncing back to them. And they automatically come with a spring up skill, which means that if they do get hit in close, if they get hit with shooting, they can take an initiative test and escape pinning, which is going to be fantastic for these guys. After that, you got Outcast Hive skill number 1. It's going to cost you 130 credits. This fighter's got a hazard suit as well as a gutted forge cloak for that 5-up armor save and that 5-up ward save for environmental effects. He's also packing an auto gun with an exterminator, so that way he can set people on fire with that one single shot with that strength 3 template weapon. He's packing an auto pistol for close combat as well as an axe, which you'll get for free because one of the cinders is giving that up to this fighter, so that way you can equip him with a chain axe with an exterminator. And at the same time, he's got photo goggles to see in all visibility conditions as well. After that, we got Outcast Hive skill number 2. It's going to cost you 130 credits. This guy's got a hazard suit and gutted forge cloak for a 5-up armor save and a 5-up ward save against environmental effects. He's also packing a shotgun with solid and scatter ammo. At the same time, he's also got auto pistol as well as an axe, which is going to be free because it's going to be used for one of the cinders. And he's also got photo goggles to see in all visibility conditions. And my suggestion to you, as soon as you possibly can, get this guy an exterminator for his shotgun, so that way he has that one shot strength 3 flaming attack, and maybe get him incendiary shots as well, ammo as well, so that way he can set people on fire with his shotgun, because, you know, just John Wick it like your John Wick from John Wick 4 with the Dragon's Breath ammo. I can imagine that being really cool. And because your fighters are a little bit more valuable this time around, we're giving you a rogue doc for 50 credits. That way, in case any critical injuries roll up, this guy's got a last pistol as well as a Medicae kit as well as the Medicae skill as well. And following around your list, you have a Scum Racer. It's going to cost you 370 credits. This character is driving a custom heavy vehicle that's going to be wheeled. At the same time, you have a Promethium tank. Now, granted, I know that you usually can't take Promethium tanks on custom vehicles because that's usually restrained for the Cargo A Ridge Hauler, but we're going to allow it this time because, after all, this is a narrative build, and after all, why wouldn't the Promethium Guild have access to Promethium tanks for any one of their vehicles? So we're going to have that as well with all the special rules that attach to it as well, so that way your flaming attacks lose their scarce trait and they gain the plentiful trait instead, so they'll never run out of flaming attacks, which is going to be great for your guys with exterminators, because once they use their exterminators they can go back to the Promethium tank, reload, and then use their exterminators again, which is fantastic. It's also got transport beds so that we can move the entire gang, and of course it's automatically going to be flamer because, let's face it, you're the Promethium Guild, why wouldn't you have a flamer on your vehicle? So in conclusion, building a narrative list is a fun and unique idea to try out new lists, different dramatis personae that you might not usually have access to, as well as setting up new challenges for yourself, as well as for your campaign as well. And like I said before in the introduction, in no way is this official at all, so I wouldn't recommend you taking these to any kind of official tournaments or any organized tournament play as well. Same thing with your arbitrator. Also double check with your arbitrator, see if they'd be okay with you actually making a gang list like this. And ask your arbitrator if you would like to do a narrative style campaign. It could be something really cool. It could be something really cool to try out within your gaming groups and to try out new campaigns, so give it a try. And if you do decide to play this way, please let me know down the comments box down below. I'd love to hear some of the comments and feedback you guys have about using the different lists I create, as well as some future other campaign ideas that I have coming down the pike. And of course, I'll bring up more videos about this topic as time goes on. And as always, recommendations for any narrative list will be welcomed. I'm actually planning on making a narrative list for pretty much every single faction in Necromunda, so I do have my work cut out for me, and I'll be uploading those videos on a regular basis, so keep an eye out for that to make sure you catch it and learn the newest and latest narrative lists for whatever particular faction you would like to play. So that's good for this week, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this video, guys. We will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and stay classy.